Hey everybody, this is a video I put together of my current brewing setup. The setup's evolved a lot over the years, but it's at a spot where I'm really happy with it. As you can see, I'm a garage brewer, so I like to put everything away in between sessions, so I came up with this cart concept. It's made of all wood, which is easy to work with. Probably needs a new paint job, but it's my working system, so it kind of shows warts and all. I am a full volume brewer. I mash in full volume with the Anvil kettle. As you can see here, I have a hot liquor tank, and I also have a separate boil kettle, which is powered by an induction burner. As you can see there, this is the back side of the cart. It's all self-contained. Pretty much everything I use is either in the bottom of the cart. There are a few things on the wall over there, but most of it's in the cart itself. Mash caps, lids, etc. I added this little shelf a few years ago. Nice and handy for doing pH measurements and just placing things down while I'm doing something else. Here's the hot liquor tank. This is just an old keg that I repurposed. Had a welder weld the bottom drain out of it. As you can see, I'm taking out my stir motor. We'll get to that later when we do the chilling. And here's my enhanced immersion chiller. We'll get to that later as well. So this is the hot liquor tank. As I said, the Sankey keg. It has two hot water heating elements. One's 3,500 watts. The other one is 4,500 watts. For a total of 8,000 watts of power. Runs on 220. I have a sight glass there marked, and here's the bottom drain. This comes out of the side, and I use this for my strike water and also all of my cleaning water. This tube goes all the way down to an inline clamp, which I'll talk about those in a little bit. This hooks into the mash tun for an underlet. That's what we like to do as low oxygen brewers, is bring the liquor in from the bottom. So here's a little close-up of that inline clamp. So when I get ready to bring the strike water into the mash tun, I clamp this on, and I can open or close the flow just by this clamp here. I like them because they're simple, they're sanitary, they work really well, and they just hang on the line. So I've been very pleased with this. You'll see them all around the brew cart. All right, let's talk about mashing. I use the Anvil Foundry for my mash tun. I don't use it in the way they've sold it. I put this false bottom in the bottom of it. This is from, I think, a Brewzilla that I modified a little bit. So this goes in the bottom. I do not use the grain basket that's shipped with the product. I just use a Wilson Brewer bag. So what I do is I mill my grain into this bag, into a bucket, and then I just lift it out of the bucket full of grain, and I place the bag inside the mash tun. Just like that. As you'd see it, if it was full of grain, it would go in there right now, just like that. Put it in, tighten it up. There we go. That's set. Once the mash is going, I hook up this item, which is a mash cap. And what this does, it floats on top of the mash water, and it reduces the amount of surface oxygen exchange into the liquid. It comes right out of that stainless steel bent pipe there. So this is the recirc tubing. It gets connected onto the barb right there. and it will get set inside the mash tun, and it floats the whole time. And the recirc goes through it, and it comes up through it gently so it doesn't disturb and create any more oxygen exchange. This is a lid that I made out of just scrap stainless steel. It's got a little sliding opening there, so when I have the mash cap in place, I can just open it up a little bit and just clear enough room to get the tubing through. And this just mainly helps with temperature. It doesn't do anything else other than that. So here's how the setup looks when it's in place. During the mash, it's just basically a set and forget type situation. Once I get it going, I just set it up like that and walk away. Alright, after the dough in is complete, the underlet, so to speak, I disconnect that hose from the hot liquor tank, and I connect the pump right there. It's a little Anvil pump that came with the unit. Once that's in place, then we just start recirculation throughout the entire mash. I gotta turn the unit to where it usually sits. There we go. So this is how the setup looks during the mash. We got the wort coming out of the spigot, down to the pump, back up to the top. You can see that little opening through the lid, and the recirc just goes through the entire mash. Now I'd like to talk about the boil kettle. As you can see, there's a induction burner. This is a stainless steel Brewtech. I think it's a 10.7 gallon pot. There's the induction burner exposed. I made this little shelf as I'm limited in space, so it slides out just like that. I got a little sort of a stopper key thing back there that slides into 2 drilled holes, just so I know I'm at the limit and in the correct spot. Once that's down in there, nothing will move. So here's the kettle sitting on the induction burner. There's a lid I made for the boil kettle. As we go to the back, we'll slide down here. We can see how that's configured with the slide out area. There's the stop. That just slides in and out, which is convenient. Okay, here once again, here are the inline clips. You can see I have one down at the bottom that's closed and a backup that's just open in the second area right there. I use these for the boil kettle because there's really no pressure. It holds just fine, and it's completely sanitary. It's just over the tubing, so no cleanup, anything. It's really, really convenient, and I've really enjoyed having them. Used them for quite some time now. They work great. Here's another feature of the kettle. I have a rotating racking arm, and I use this at the end after I do a settling period. So I will chill the wort, let everything settle, and then I can turn this so as I drain the wort out, I'll start high like in that position, and then I will just follow it down and stay above the tube level. Works for getting nice clear wort out to the fermenter. Okay, on to the lauter. So after the mash is complete, you can see the mash cap there has the recirc hose connected to it. I close the clamp, which is really convenient because nothing leaks out after you take it off the barb, and I just go down there and connect it to the inlet hose, the boil kettle. At this time, both of the clamps would be closed, and then I just tighten the clamp on there first, and then I open the inline clamps, and the lauter begins. Once the lauter is complete, I close both of the inline clamps, unhook the hose, and we're ready for the boil. Here's the lid I made for the boil kettle. It's got a little opening so I can run the burner at a lower temperature and keep a nice boil going on. Here's a different mash cap. This is actually not used for the mash, but it's more for the boil kettle. It's sized for this kettle. And I put it on there when I'm coming up to temperature, and also after I'm done chilling in the settling period. Once again, to keep the oxygen exchange at a minimum. Okay, let's talk about chilling. I am in Texas, so the groundwater is often very warm, so I put a lot of energy into chilling. One of the things that I've come up with is a stir arm, and this goes in there to help agitate the wort, keep it moving. And this is my immersion chiller. It goes right in the kettle like that. I use my mash tun to hold the cold water. So that same pump recirculation tubing goes right in the chiller. I put the stir arm in the middle of the immersion chiller so it turns inside of the coils. And this creates like a pretty slow whirlpool effect. Here's some video with the stir motor on. I have it attached to a power supply over here that runs off of AC power, converts it to DC for the motor. I think this is turning at 30 RPM, but as you can see, it doesn't turn that fast. Just creates some movement in there so the heat can be dissipated and the cold coming out from the coils can be distributed. I've had this for pretty many years and it does make a difference. Let's talk about the chiller itself. This is a combination of two different chillers put together. This is the actual output side. This is a T, so it takes both of the outputs and combines it into one. Over here we have the input side, so this is one input, divides it into two, distributes it through both chillers. So one chiller fits inside the other. The smaller one came with the Anvil Foundry, and the larger one is a New York Homebrew half-inch ID 50-foot chiller. And luckily they fit together like this, so it gives me a lot more surface area to distribute the cold temperature around, and it really has made a big difference from just using one individually. I have it set so the input flow starts at the top of one chiller and the bottom of the other, so they move in opposite directions. And I just use the pump to push the water through. Once again, here's the input. Use a simple T. And here's the output, another simple T. Okay, once chilling is completed, I kind of disassemble everything, take the stir motor out, disconnect the hose, lift the chiller out, and what's left is just wort with a bunch of stuff floating around in it. So the next phase is just to let the wort settle for 20 to 40 minutes, depending on what style I'm doing. After that, then dump it into the fermenter. So this is all sort of predetermined height-wise, so the height of the shelf is right above where the fermenter is, so it's just an easy gravity drop into the fermenter. While the wort is sitting there resting, I put that mash cap on top. And this is what it looks like afterwards when I'm draining into the fermenter. once that's complete. Very easy, just lift the hose out and walk away, or roll away I should say. Okay, one last thing I wanted to talk about is cleanup. Since everything's kind of on the cart and the anvil's kind of high, I made this little stand so I could basically change its angle, make it more horizontal so I could get all the stuff out of it basically. So after the mash, when it's full of a little bit of wort and all the sort of remains of the day from your mash, I can tip this over, spray it out easily, scrub it out easily, and empty whatever kind of PBW water or whatever I put in there, and it's done. I just tilt it back up. It's good to go.